coming up on this episode of the Spiro podcast.
Because, if you do set that intention and work towards it and believe that you can achieve it, I'm a strong believer in that you can manifest it. It's just a matter of putting one foot in front of the other and, working towards it and, just keep trying.
Welcome to the Spiro podcast, managing your real estate photography and videography business. With your hosts, Todd Craig and Craig Magrum.
Hi, and welcome to the Spiro podcast, managing your real estate photography and videography business. Spiro is a software platform designed to help you manage your day-to-day business, but also help you grow it and scale it through an online software platform. So thanks for joining us. My name is Craig Magrum, host of the Spiro podcast, and along with us each and every week, most each and every week, our owner and founder, co-host of the podcast, Todd Craig. How's it going, Todd?
Oh, Craig, it's great. The sun is shining today. It's Friday when we record this. I know it's not Friday when you guys listen to it, so sorry about that. Right. Or maybe it is. I guess
the week after Friday.
Yeah, well, it's a good day. It's a good day to have a good day.
There you go. All right. Well, we're past all the fun of the face tattoos and the beard. We can safely put that behind us.
No, I thought we were actually going to do that. That was a draft for what was to come.
Oh. Did you forward the money for me to pay the tattoo artist to get that done?
He's got my credit card. I said, just go ahead and do it. Yeah.
Right. Did you tell Gail about this, my wife?
Hey, I can write the check. That's about it.
All right. Okay. No, we're going to move on.
Okay.
We've got a great episode lined up for you guys today. A special guest that we will introduce in just a little bit. But we always like to start off the podcast with updates on Spiro and what you can expect in the software. And you guys who watch and listen, you've got so many great ideas. Keep those coming. You can always reach us at hello@spiro.media. And I'd just like to put this up front as well. If you have a business question about real estate photography or videography or media in general, and you'd like to see us address that, again, drop us an email, hello@spiro.media, and we'll do our best to cover that. If we don't know much about it, we'll find a guest that does. But we really like to focus on the business side of things. There are so many great channels and outlets for the creative side of real estate photography and videography. And we like to let those pros kind of cover that area, and we talk on the business side. So if you have a business question, let us know. All right, Todd, let's get into what updates, some exciting updates that just hit in this past week on Spiro.
Yes. Give me a timer. Here we go. I do want to mention that there's a survey in your system. If you have not taken the survey, find a little chat bubble or it pops up. Click on it. Let us know what you think. That really helps us. If you're like, I don't want to hurt his feelings. I like the guys. Please hurt my feelings. Please tell us what is working, what's not working, and any ideas that you have. It's how we get better. Mm-hmm. Those of you that have taken the survey, thank you so much. We've logged it all. We're looking at all of it, analyzing all of it. And there will be action on it. Metrics. The metrics section is finally launched. So we are super excited about this. You can find it in the metrics link in the left-hand menu bar. Click on it. You have a whole new dashboard looking at revenue, cash collected, number of clients, average order value. You're looking at market share, clients that haven't ordered in so many days, unique clients, client value, all kinds of stuff that you can click on. And this is really going to give you the heartbeat of your business. So we're going to do much more on why these metrics and why we measure these metrics and why these metrics should be important to you. But please click it, play with it. I'm so excited for that to be in there.
Absolutely.
Wanted to mention the Merge Fleet. So the Merge Fleet, we've launched it in kind of this alpha stage. Now we've used the Merge Fleet for over 20,000 jobs, and we use it in a task. We now have a front end interface that you can use. We have Merge Fleet training. If you need the Merge Fleet training, it's free. We put a link in the last newsletter we sent out. If you need the link, if you want it for free, email me, hello@spiro.media. I'll put you in. You'll get it for free. And then through that course, we give you the direct link to access the the merge fleet, which is hidden right now in the system. So if you get the course, you get the link, you can try it. Also, we have a free test process. So you can go in there, you can process as many things as you want for free. We just put a watermark on them, but you can try it as much as you want. So really excited about you all using the merge fleet.
Can I pop in real quick, just for those that maybe are listening or watching the podcast for the first time? Can you give a brief explanation on what is the merge fleet?
Yes, great question, Craig. So the merge fleet is our logic-based video editor. So at WOW, about 80% of our jobs include an upgrade to video, which is great for your average order value. If you're not shooting a lot of video right now, that is one way to make a lot more money in 2024. Right. Now, we do about 8,000 to 9,000 videos a year, and we hit a threshold where we could not find enough editors to edit the videos. And basically, long story short, we wrote a program for it, and it's a systemized process of shooting. It gives you creative control. You know the way that the final output's going to be by what the input is. We explain all of it. So if you're like, Todd, what are you saying? We have a full series where my head of training at WOW and I we walk you through the entire thing. So we have the resources there for you on how we shoot it, what we use, why we use it this way. But we're excited for you to put it in your business. If you're looking to add video or just streamline video editing, it's in there.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes. All right. Just a couple more and then we'll get off Spiro because I'm so excited to get to our guest.
Absolutely.
We have optionally pay. So if you have clients that want to optionally pay, say you're in a pay before download payment method, and some of your clients are like, hey, can I just pay you? Like I want to submit the order. I want to get the payment out of the way. You can toggle on the ability for them to optionally pay before they submit the order. We have a new button to switch photographers. That's on the order overview page. Thing used to be on the map scheduler. Why it was hidden there, I have no clue. I know it made no sense, y'all, but we gave you a button now where it should have been in the first place, but it's in there. and now we have optionally pay. Oh, a way to unlock or lock the download page. So maybe somebody placed an order and they just can't get their credit card to work, or you just want to unlock the download page, or alternatively, you want to lock it and make them pay. You can do that on the order overview page. So there's just a little toggle that you slide back and forth to lock or unlock the download.
Okay, awesome. And more updates to come. So stick around for more of those updates. All right. Yes. We love summits and we love conferences that help us get better in our businesses. Our friend Jordan Powers just reached out to us and said, hey, guys, can you talk about a summit I'm going to? So, Todd, you want to share about that real quick as well?
Yeah, so great to hear from Jordan. This is called the Shifter Summit. So this is based towards more architectural. So architectural, everything from high-end hotels, all things not commercial. Residential. Yeah, commercial. Yeah. Thank you, Craig. It's a fascinating area of photography. He says about 25% of the people that come are real estate photographers. So I know many of you are thinking like, hey, should I diversify? Do I want to go higher end? This has all the resources. They have incredible speakers, 7 speakers, the top in the field. And they all have different niches in the, in the community. So interiors, architectural photography space, and then they have a panel discussion. So they're sold out, but they do have virtual. Yeah, they have virtual in person sold out. They do have virtual tickets. Jordan gave us a coupon to save 100. So if you use the coupon code Spiro, SPIRO, you'll get $100 off your ticket, which is pretty cool. Yeah. You can find out more at shiftersummit.com, SHIFTER. Summit has 2 M's and 1 T for you people that can't spell like me, SUMMIT.com. So check it out. And that seems like a vibrant community in the architectural commercial photography area.
Yeah. And Jordan's a great leader in that field as well.
He is.
A great guy, and I'm sure would love to talk with you if you happen to connect. So, all right. That takes care of the pre-show. Todd, we got a great episode and an exciting guest. I'm happy to finally meet I can't say in person, but it's nice to meet this guy. I'm going to let you introduce him though, and take it away.
Yes, there's really no introduction needed because all of you all know him. You subscribe to his YouTube channel. You've learned from him. It is none other than Mike Burke with Inside Real Estate Photography. He is also a real estate photography company owner. He owns Burke MultiMedia. So we're super excited to have him on the show today. He's got nearly 60,000 subscribers in just a few short years on YouTube. That's incredible. Like, my mind just has a ton of questions for him about that and other things. But Mike, thank you for coming on. Yeah. Welcome to the show.
Hey guys, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Now, Mike, I just to start off, because you told me this story earlier, so I know this story, but I don't think everybody knows. But yeah, nearly 60,000 subscribers on your YouTube channel. I mean, we all learn from you. We all subscribe to it. We watch it weekly. And you have not been doing the channel for that long, which just amazed me. Would you mind just giving just a little insight, some history, just a little background of what you've done with real estate media, then into the channel? Because I really love that story, and I don't think a lot of our listeners know it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started the channel back in March of 2020, which maybe that time period rings a bell for a lot of you, because that was the beginning of the pandemic and lockdowns and everything like that. So at the time, my son was actually born very early. He was just about 3 at the time, but he had a lot of complications early on. So he was on an oxygen tank until he was over 1 year old, about 1 year old. And he had chronic lung disease and all this stuff from being a premature birth and everything. Thank God he's doing very well today. And I can't complain. Like, he's dodged many bullets. But that being said, with, COVID being a respiratory virus and all that, I was being super careful, especially in the very beginning there when we didn't really know what the broader implications were going to be of that whole thing. So I wasn't going out to shoot in people's homes just to be safe. Luckily, I had some friends that were very kind to, cover my clients for me and everything during that period. So yeah, it was a crazy time, but I was stuck at home, and I always had this idea for doing a YouTube channel, a real estate photography YouTube channel. I had it for a good, at least couple years preceding that. I just never really had the time to get it going with, doing daily shoots and everything like that. So now I had some time on my hands. So anyway, I got it going. And what really kind of inspired me to do it was, and why I think, it's been as successful as it has been, is that, I think there was some great content being put out, but what I felt like I had a different perspective to add to the conversation a little bit. Some of the, I think the major ones at the time were, more like, I don't know, like a lot of them I think were like mostly like flash photography based and, all that stuff. There wasn't much being talked about like shooting brackets or like, some of the different methods. And like, I thought there was something that I could add to the, conversation there. And also, as being someone that's watched other YouTube videos and, find it frustrating that, I had a mission statement basically from day one, which was like, I'm not here to bait you. I'm not here to give you, I'm not here to dangle a carrot and like, give you 50% of the information. Then at the end, say buy my course or whatever it is, So I think people really appreciate that. And I think that's why so many people have subscribed to my channel, because I don't do that. That was like, I'm putting all the information out there for free, and there are small ways to, support me financially if you want to, but I'm not withholding any information from anybody, behind a paywall or anything like that. And, I think that's refreshing for a lot of people that watch YouTube videos, because that's how a lot of people operate, and nothing against them. It's just, I don't know, like for me, the first priority is just trying to help other people. And, I put a lot of time into it. It's great to get some financial kickback, but that's not really that's not what, the top priority that I'm doing it for. You know what I mean? So, yeah. So I think really for those reasons is why it's seen the, traction that it has. And, I really appreciate it. It's been a wild ride and it's been great. My favorite part is really just doing things like this, talking to other people in the industry. I offer some mentoring services. So like I do one-on-ones with people, and it's just great to, talk to other people, see how other people are, what they're, struggling with in their businesses, and, trying to help them and, figure out ways to, get people off the ground, and like similar to what you guys are doing here, and which I really appreciate. And yeah, so it's been great so far.
Would it be fair to say that like one of your main motivators is really serving others and empowering others?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. I mean, I hope that comes across, and, that's certainly what I'm trying to do. And, that's something what I want to compliment you guys here on this podcast. And I've been listening to it a lot lately, and yeah, just the tone of it is, I really appreciate. Just, you guys are super encouraging, welcoming, and I appreciate those ideals, and I try to incorporate them into my own channel as well.
No, I love the mission statement. Love that you have a mission statement. That's some of the things of the nuts and bolts, if you will, of business that are important, and it's neat to hear you say, like, when I started, I had a mission statement. I think that's important for other businesses out there. So, if you're just starting your real estate photography business, what is your mission? And just to understand what that is, that's something that I didn't do from the beginning, and I wish I would have done it sooner. So that's really refreshing to hear. Now, Mike, that was a little background. I think that's so cool. Like, as we look back, those of the, we'll look back at that COVID period, and there's a lot of really great things that happened during it. And how cool was it that you had this situation now that you just didn't have the time before, and you just now have the time, and you're like, hey, I'm going to serve the community. I'm going to start a channel. And then 60,000 of us come out and subscribe, which means exponentially more of people, watch it, because they're not all subscribers. But that's just so neat looking back to, those times in life where we go, man, that was really tough, but there's good that comes out of it.
Yeah, definitely.
So kudos to you for taking the initiative and using that time to support us all.
Thanks. Yeah. That's great.
Now, maybe stepping back a few more years before that, I probably should have asked this question first, Mike, but how did you get into real estate photography?
Right.
Yeah. So I got into it. Well, so I have sort of a photo video background, more so a video background, like you, Todd. We discussed this a little bit too, but I was a fine arts major, and I went to an art school here at Rutgers University in New Jersey. And my concentration though was film and video, actually. And so I did a lot of that. And then I got an internship at a television studio, I guess you could say. Not really a studio, but in New York City. So once I graduated, I continued on with that, and I was doing, at first I was assisting with shooting and stuff, but I ended up doing mostly motion graphics work. So like After Effects, if any of you guys are familiar with that. So
yeah,
that's what I ended up doing. Was for like 5 years, I was doing After Effects motion graphics for TV shows, it was cool. I mean, we did a bunch of different shows. It was like on a few different networks. It was like VH1, Discovery Channel, Bravo, like Travel Channel. There was like a few different shows we produced and whatever. And it was a great experience. Then around like 2008, 2009, like around that time of like financial crisis or whatever that happened. The main show we worked on, it was like a sort of lifestyles of the rich and famous type show, which was like really insensitive at the time, because so many people were like, so that show, they shut it down. And then I got basically just kind of let go because of that was the kind of the main show. So they didn't really need me. so then I was kind of just taking stock in my life at the time. It was like a transitionary period. Like I had an opportunity to work for another company in New York, and I was just so kind of over it. And I was commuting there. It was like an hour and a half train ride each way. And, some nights I'm working late nights, and I didn't really want to move into the city, all this stuff, whatever. I don't want to get too off topic here, but anyway,
it's part of your story.
Yeah. So I was like, what can I do with this kind of skills that I have? I love having a camera in my hands and making a living doing that. Like, that's really what I love to do. And I was like, how can I do this? I was shooting weddings after this. It's like, I came here, I was like, what can I do? I mean, the first thing that came to mind was like weddings, because that's like what everyone, like, I feel like does, like in their locally, like that's one major thing that you can do. So I started getting into weddings, and I was shooting a bunch of wedding videos, not photos. I have done some photo weddings, but mostly video. And then my cousin became a real estate agent. And so I had all this gear, and, I had this background, and I was like, all right, great. Like, if you get some listings, I'll help them, I'll photograph them for you. Like, work something out. I'll try to help you. I knew nothing about real estate photography. She started to get some listings. I went in there. I think I had a Canon of some kind, I had a wide angle lens, and I knew you needed a wide angle lens. That's all I knew at the time. I walked in the house, handheld, like single exposures, like just went room to room, like taking a wide angle shot of each one. Like, I had no idea what I was doing. Anyway, so some time goes on, and I start getting calls from some other people that she told me about. She told some other people about me, and that word of mouth started going. Yep. So I started getting some calls from other people, and then I started doing more and more of it. And then, I started learning about the process. I didn't even know people did it as a full-time thing. This was like, this is around that like 2010 time, I think, it was, which I don't think it's much bigger now than I think it was then.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's how it got rolling for me. And then a friend of mine who he has a whole team here. It's like not quite as big as WOW, but he's got a good team. I think he's got almost 20 photographers that work for him, whatever. And then, but at the time it was just him and one other guy. He was still in the earlier stages of his business. And he was further along than me. He needed help. So he had one other guy, and then he needed more help too. So we had run into him out. My wife and I were out somewhere. We weren't married. I don't think we were married yet, but yeah. So we ran into him, and we were talking about real estate photography. He's like, hey, like I could use some extra help on some shoots, and so I was like, yeah. So he started throwing me some shoots, and then that's when it really took off for me. And like, it really almost started to become like a full-time thing. And then, cause I was doing it now, like between my own clients and then like stuff he was throwing my way, it was like, becoming pretty much full-time. And then I kind of just stopped doing everything else and focused on that. And, that was great because it helped supplement me as I was building stuff up for myself. And we still maintain a great relationship. By the way, that company, then we give them, that company's called Motion City Media here. And my friend Frank runs it, and he's such an awesome human being. And so I just want to give them a shout out. But to this day, we're great friends, and I still, I'll still do jobs for them. And, they're, we maintain a great relationship, a close relationship. And, they'll be like, hey, Mike, do you got any spots in your schedule? Like, we're stuck here, we need to shoot. And like, I still work with them, and, so it's great. And that's how I got into it, and how kind of where I am at now.
That's awesome. So Mike, let me ask you this. Say that somebody's listening right now and they're just getting into the field. What is one of the earliest lessons you learned about starting your own business, doing real estate photography, that you would share with that person just getting into it? What's your number one piece of advice?
I would say the way you treat your clients is like just number one. I mean, I think I mean, from all the real estate photographers I've spoken to, like, you can try to advertise, you can try to do this and that, but like at the end of the day, this is a word of mouth sort of business, and you grow through that. Like I just said, my cousin told a few people about me, and then I started working with them, and they told another few people. That's just how it works, and it's people want to be, when it comes to anything, like, you hire not to, like you hire an electrician, you hire a contractor, you're much more likely to hire somebody that someone you trust told you about, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Someone recommended them to you. So I think that's just number one in this business, is just treating everyone with respect, treating everyone well, going above and beyond in any way possible. Just, because then, they're going to rave about you to other people.
Mm-hmm.
And because that's really the biggest challenge. And as I said, I do some mentoring with people and one-on-ones and whatever you want to call it, that's always the biggest struggle for anybody starting out, is like, I can't get clients. I can't, it's by far the number one thing that I hear from people, and the biggest struggle that everyone has. And it is difficult in the beginning. It's just getting that ball rolling. And, I think it does take time, and, but if you do a good job, you get a few clients, it's breaking through that barrier, get a few clients and get the thing rolling. And then, they'll start telling, people about you. And, so yeah, my advice would be just treat people the best you can and do the best job you can, and make them feel like, they're getting a valuable service from you, and all that.
Make them feel like they are your number one client.
Yeah. Yeah.
You make somebody feel special, and they're going to go to bat for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great advice, Mike. So that's for those that are kind of started. I just back up a little bit, because in both of the stories you told us, from starting the channel and also starting your company, seemed like this timing thing lined up, and not only did it line up, but like you took advantage of it. So in life, we all have things that happen to us that are in control and out of control. And it seemed like you focused on the things that you could control. So with the channel, you couldn't control that you wanted to keep your son safe and didn't want to go in the house. Like, that was out of your control. Like, this pandemic happened, and you took what you could control in your time, and you started the channel, which is incredible. You did the same thing with what could be seen as a negative back in 2008, when the show, got canceled. You all of a sudden don't have a job, and the only thing you can control now is what your activity is. So you're like, hey, I've got a camera, I'm going to figure things out, and you shoot what you can. So I think that's so inspiring. Mm-hmm. What would you say to those individuals out there that they hate their job, or they just want to be creative? They want to work something else. They want to own their own thing. They love the idea of real estate photography, but it's like, oh my goodness, I have bills. There's things that are out of my control. Like, what advice would you give that individual that is sitting there or listening right now, saying, hey, but you don't know my situation, and I have these bills that I have to pay, and I don't know that this would ever work for me.
Yeah. I totally understand that. And, kind of what I didn't mention too is that, like, I was sort of a little bit in that kind of scenario around that time, like the 2008-9 time, when I transitioned. Yeah, because I was scrambling. I was shooting weddings and stuff, like I said, but I mean, that wasn't enough, and I was trying to build that into maybe a business at first before I shifted focus to real estate. And I'm glad to be out of weddings. It's way too stressful, and like the whole thing, like I've shot them over the years, even up till recently. I think the last one I shot was like 2 years ago, but like once in a while, because I used to do them, people still ask me, and I will sometimes once in a while do one. Anyway, that wasn't the business for me. I just knew that. So, and I like the real estate thing much more. But anyway, like in the beginning, I was doing that. I was trying to figure out what to do. Like I had a job. I was delivering Chinese food. A friend had a landscaping business. I was like, I was doing a few days digging holes. Like, I was like doing all kinds of stuff. I worked for another friend of my mom's, like owned a check cashing business, and like I was working there for a while. Like, it was crazy. Like, anything just so I can pay my bills. Like, it is tough, but what I think is important is, I know you guys have talked about goals recently on here. I heard that episode, I think the last one, right? And like, you've talked about it a few times, but I think that's really important. Just like having a focus, having a goal, writing, like you guys said, writing these things down. Like, okay, what can I do to work towards that goal within the parameters of my situation, and what I think my sort of advice is like, these weird jobs that I did to make ends meet at the time, like, they were sort of flexible, and like, like the delivering the food thing, that was at like, I did that from like 5 p.m. to 10 p.m., like it was off hours. So like, I had the weekends free to shoot weddings. I had the days free to shoot real estate. And, like, if you can shift yourself, there's a lot of these, what do they call them? Like gig economy jobs, like drive Uber, DoorDash, like all these things, like, we're completely flexible. You decide when you work. I mean, I don't know if that's enough income for you, but I'm just saying if you try to make yourself flexible so you can accommodate, some shooting and, working towards your goal, because, if you do set that intention and work towards it and believe that you can achieve it, I'm a strong believer in that you can manifest it. Like, it's just, it's just a matter of putting one foot in front of the other and, working towards it, and, just keep trying. It's going to be discouraging at times, I thought, there was times I thought it was, this will never happen. I'll never be able to do this full time. Those thoughts have crossed my mind, but I also did feel deep down in my core that I absolutely could do it. I knew I was capable of it, and, all that stuff. So, I mean, just believe in yourself, have the goal, make yourself flexible so you can do what you need to do to get there. I think that's really what I would say. So.
Yeah. Adaptability, flexibility, and mindset. Yeah. I mean, you nailed it, Mike. The manifesting, that can be hard when you're down kind of in the dregs of things.
Absolutely.
That can be hard to pull yourself out of that. So add to that, maybe just making sure you surround yourself with people that have a good attitude, a good outlook, because I mean, if you've got a circle of friends or a circle of, people around you that are also down, man, it's almost impossible to kind of rise up out of that. But if you got good people around you that are speaking good things into your life, man, that just can motivate you to go after it. Todd, I'm sure you're probably familiar with the verse from the Bible. And Mike, this goes exactly what you just said. As a person thinks in their heart, so are they. The view you have about yourself and who God made you to be has a huge impact on your ability to adapt, to be flexible, and to be successful, whatever success looks like in your life. So thank you for sharing that. That was awesome.
Absolutely. One thing I will add to that too, if you don't mind. It is, you're absolutely right. Having people on your team, and, that's great. I did have some people that, doubted me too, like, or doubted, that's like, people that had said, whether it's family members, whoever, like, that's kind of a, you think that's, doubtful that it was possible, or, you're always going to have those people. I'm just saying, like, and to me, actually, that was extremely motivating to me. Like that, I'm going to prove you wrong.
Yeah. Yep.
It was very, that like really fired me up. I feel like, that was motivating to me in a lot of ways. So if my point I'm trying to make is, like, if there is negativity or people that are doubting it, like, just use that as like fuel.
Energy. Yeah. Fuel. I like that. I like that.
Yeah. I think that's so inspiring. And thank you so much for sharing that, Mike, because I think a lot of people that, you know, we all feel like we know you because we watch you online and we're like, oh, Mike's got it all figured out. And, you know, I think that's just really encouraging for us all to hear is like, you know, it wasn't all like Mike built his business through one of the biggest financial downturns most of us have seen in 2008, 2009. Yeah. And then he started an incredibly successful YouTube channel in the pandemic that we haven't seen in 100 years. So, you know, there's always opportunity there. And we all take punches every day. Mm-hmm. We really do. There's always, we call them gaps at WOW. You know, there's problems. We call them gaps because I don't love the word problem. It's just a mindset thing. Like, it's not a problem. No, it's just a gap. It's something I have to figure out. It's something that we can get past. And I think that's just super encouraging to hear that, because at least I find I can get my own brain at times. And when I'm in my own brain and my left brain's working overtime, then all my thoughts are true, and they're typically negative because things are going bad. And typically then the world's going to literally end. Like, more than just a cell phone outage yesterday, like the whole thing's going to end, like in my brain, you know? And it's just like, sometimes you just have to have that group that pulls you out, or you have to have those positive thoughts. Yeah. So thank you for sharing. I mean, that's super encouraging to hear. And hopefully if you're out there saying, hey, this isn't going to work for me, like, it can work for you. Like, you just surround yourself with the right people, change your thinking, and anything's possible.
Yeah, totally.
So switching gears just a little bit, Mike, I've got a million questions. So what have you found over the years? So let's go to the YouTube channel, and you've taught a ton of people, and I'm sure you get a ton of feedback in and out, but what has been, I guess let's just start off, what's been one of your most successful videos or things that you've taught?
Yeah, so by far my most successful video was I should say, all right, so I made this video early on. It's called Real Estate Photography Basics, and that's really what launched me. It's it's sort of like a crash course in watch this one video and you probably have enough knowledge to get started. You know what I mean? It's kind of it covers all the bases, I recently remade it last year into a video that I titled Full Real Estate Photography Course. And it's it's way longer, more in depth. And it really encompasses almost everything to an extent. But those are always the most successful, because it's if you're interested in real estate photography, you're probably Googling something along those lines, and I'm sure my videos are popping up, and it's sort of this introductory video of this is really what it's all about, kind of, and more in more or less, it touches all the bases, and so that's really been successful and drew a lot of people in, I think. And then they start exploring, I think, some of my other videos. So yeah, so I think just those broader videos, I mean, people love the tutorial videos, photography, how to do, creative stuff, or just the photography tutorials, video tutorials, whatever it is. Those are by far the more popular videos, which as something I wanted to talk about on here, because it's any of you guys out there that are listening to this or watching this right now, kudos to you, because I think this type of content that you guys provide is, I've said it on my own channel. I make some business related videos, of the business side of things. I definitely have quite a few of those on my channel as well. And the truth is, the matter is, they don't get as many views. And I've said it in those videos, these are really probably the most important videos on here. Of course, the technical skills and everything are super important, but the running the business thing, all that stuff at the end of the day eclipses everything else, so, if you're one of the people, listening to this, I think you're on the right track and you're doing the right thing. And, because I think this is super important content, and, yeah, I just, I wish more people would do that. I like trying to encourage people. Like I say in my videos, like, please, like, watch these videos. And because I think, you want more clients, you want, all this stuff. And like, this is the type of content that, will get you there. Maybe like, listening to these type of things, it's just, yeah, it's super important. I know how seductive the creative stuff is, and it's fun. It's like, that's the stuff you're like, for me, that I totally understand that, because that's what excites me.
That's where our brains all are wired for, all of us, creatives. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what's drawn me into the business. And, like I said, I love having a camera in my hands. Like, that's what I want to do. And, so I get that, like, that's what draws me in, but like, these are super important conversations. So
see, Todd. So Mike is backing me up on my ideas of doing some videos on business insurance and taxes and accounting. See, he's making my case, Todd.
I have video. Did I do one on taxes? So I did one about like managing your finances. Like, I did a video like that. Yeah. Like it's super important. It's like, but yeah, like,
not the most sexy thing in the world to talk about in what we do, but
so, it's not, it's not as fun and whatever, but yeah, I don't know. It's important.
What about switching slightly? Sorry, Craig, if you had a question, I'll let you ask next. I'm being selfish here. I have my own list. Client acquisition, Mike. Now I know you said when you started, you had a friend, shot the pictures, went from one to the next. Has that changed any, or any tips on client acquisition for those of us out there thinking like, hey, how do I get somebody to even know I have a camera and I can take photos for them?
So, yeah, I mean, like I said, most of my business has grown organically, I guess you could say, which is great. But more recently, like, I've been trying some different tactics. And one thing I would suggest is just like leveraging social media, like, which is something I've always been a terrible, believe it or not, as someone that's on YouTube, like I've been terrible with my social media accounts for like my business and stuff over the years, like absolutely abysmal, like posting like once or twice a year or something, like, ridiculous. But more recently I have I have a virtual assistant helping me, and really, I have her focusing on like all social media stuff, which is she's like, just, so a couple things like, Instagram, just like, she's connecting with, she's searching out, agents in my area, friending them or whatever you want to call it, on Instagram. And then, interacting with them on their posts, commenting, that sort of thing, just establishing like something, a rapport a little bit. And then also just like, posting stuff on my Instagram, just like, so hopefully that just that sort of getting people aware of that I'm out there, and that I'm, this is stuff I'm producing, and, that kind of thing. And, we've been having posts like utilizing Spiro, just like a first time coupon code for like 25% off, posting stuff like that out there, trying to entice people to check it out. And I've had some success with that. I have a client I've been discussing stuff with recently from that, which is exciting. She's like looking to do some pretty like high-end video stuff. So I'm stoked about that. And also Facebook, just like the same thing, like actually like my personal account, I spend some time personally just friending realtors that are in my area, connecting with them, and then posting stuff on my business page, sharing it to my personal page, so it's coming up on their feeds, and they're like seeing, it's like just raising awareness on social media about your business, like in those ways, I think it's effective. And then otherwise, it's really just a matter of like, otherwise just getting yourself in front of agents any way you can, like, of course there's there's the office drop-bys, there's like the
this all sounds familiar, Todd, doesn't it?
There's like real estate conventions. There's things like, where like they go, events where there's like hundreds of realtors there. Go there and talk to some, like any way you can make a connection. It's tough. I'm not like I'm actually like pretty introverted person. I'm like not a salesperson, contrary to maybe what you might think me being on YouTube. But if you watch some of my first videos, they're like horrific. Like I'm like sitting there like a deer in headlights. You know, it took me a little bit to get comfortable with it. I'm like, you know, like even doing things like this, to be honest with you, is like, it's pretty uncomfortable for me, but like I'm having a good time actually. But you know, just, you know, the pre you know, it just, you know, I have anxiety issues that I've dealt with over the years. Like, just to be completely open with everybody, like I struggle with that for a long time. So like, yeah, it's not easy for me. And that's another thing, you know, like I think people should know too, like, you know, it hasn't been, it's always, we all have our like roadblocks and our, you know, like these obstacles that, you know, I just always like try to push through, and, you know, like that's how you grow. As nervous as things sometimes make me with being anxious or whatever, like going through it and doing it, it's just, it empowers me like in some way or another. It builds my confidence. Got to make yourself do it, as uncomfortable as it may be sometimes. And I think that's part of the reward of it too. Like after you do it, you feel like, all right, like, you know, that made me nervous. I didn't want to do it, but I did it. And now like, you know what, I feel good about that. And now I'm motivated to do more. And like, you just feel that encouragement, that, you know, that lift. It helps you keep going and doing more.
I think what it boils down to, what I'm getting from you, Michael, is there's like freedom and authenticity. You know, what I appreciated about what you just shared was your vulnerability and transparency about, yeah, I'm an introvert. I deal with anxiety. I get that because I'm kind of the same way. But when you're real with people, especially on social media, where the temptation on social media is to just gloss all over all of that and only highlight your successes, there's something disingenuous about that. So I really appreciate that what you just shared, just about the challenges that you face. And I think that that's an encouragement to those that are watching and listening, and encouragement to us that, you know, as we're somewhat, you know, real, well, not somewhat, as we're real with people, your clients and potential clients are going to identify with that, and their guard will come down, because business is all about relationships and trust. And people will buy from people they know, like, and trust. So if you're putting on an air of, you know, always being successful and there's no vulnerability, no chinks in your armor, people can sense that. So I think as you're being real with people, you know, your business is just going to continue to grow, and the influence that you're having on the rest of our industry. I mean, testament, 60,000 subscribers, you know, hey, kudos to you. And thanks for setting the example for us in that.
I've shared a little bit about that on my channel as well. And it's another thing too, like just going back to that, just, you know, I've tried to be transparent and real with everybody too about it. So, you know, it's also ties into the whole, like, not holding any information back, and like just trying to be as open as I possibly can about everything. And I think, like I said, people appreciate that. And like, kindness is just, you know, it's underrated, or maybe it's just like, just being, you know, being the best version of myself. I'm always striving to be that. So it's challenging, but, you know, I'm working at it every day.
There you go. Yeah.
It's funny how age does that to you. And I'm sure probably, I think kids does that to you as well. So I know when me pre-kids to now having kids, so much changes in life. And I think some of it is age, and at least I just calm down a little bit. And then kids are like, whatever you thought before kids, they're just laughing at you, like they're going to test every little thing. They're the biggest blessing ever. But man, like I learned so much from my kids and being a dad. So life has a funny way of doing that to you as you get a little bit older.
You learn a lot about yourself with kids too.
Holy cow. Yes.
Totally.
Yeah.
I thought I was a pretty laid back kind of guy, but man, with our oldest, he gave us a run for our money. And I learned about a whole different side of myself I didn't even know existed. And had to work through that, right? You know?
You're tested to your limits.
Oh my gosh. You're not joking.
You are. Yeah. So I was just going to say random question, then we'll give it and then we'll let you wrap with anything else that you have, Mike. But what do you do for fun? Like besides a YouTube channel, the real estate media business, just Mike that's hanging out on a, Friday night. What do you do for fun? What do you enjoy?
Well, my main extracurricular activity is I play music. So
awesome.
Cool.
Yeah. So I do that. I have a band with some friends that we've actually been going on almost 20 years now.
Wow.
Wow.
So so that's one thing I mainly do for fun. And then otherwise just hanging with family, friends, the usual. I live here right on the Jersey Shore. So, I mean, not right now, but, like in the summertime, we got the beach, we got, all that stuff here, which is nice, going down there when I can, if I can fit that in somewhere. But I grew up surfing. I haven't been able to do much of that recently, but it's hard to find time to do it. But that's pretty much it.
Mike, can I ask what the band name is? Can we look you up?
Yeah, sure. You probably laugh at this, but my friend who I started the band with, a little backstory first, but like he was like way into the conspiracy theories back in his 20s, and like he's one of these guys with like gonna make a tinfoil hat and all that, like he was like he was so into it. And I don't know if you've heard of the conspiracy theory chemtrails. Where that the belief is that some of these planes are leaving like chemical trails into the air to blah blah blah. So our band name is called Chemtrail. We thought it, to me, I wasn't into the whole conspiracy theory aspect, but like anyway, it was just like it's a cool sounding name, whatever. But yeah, so that's the name of the band. But if you Google that, you're just going to come up with a bunch of crazy. The website is chemtrailmusic.com is our band's website. It hasn't been updated in a while because we're like we were working on new material, so we haven't really been. We get out, we play shows, we do the whole thing, and we have like five records and like a couple EPs. We got a lot, we got a lot of material out there. If you look on Apple Music, Spotify, or anything like that, you'll find us on there. To describe it, it's not everybody's cup of tea. Let me just put it out there. It's instrumental. There's no singer. It's rock based. It covers a lot of areas. It's it gets heavy sometimes. It's pretty at times. It's if you're I don't know. They're kind of maybe a little obscure bands, but there's like, if you're familiar with Explosions in the Sky or like a Mogwai is another band that's famous doing this kind of thing. It's maybe you've heard of those bands, maybe you haven't, but so it's along those veins. But yeah, check it out if that sounds interesting to you. I don't know. So,
Todd, I'm telling you, I'm gonna put this on my playlist, and I have a shoot after this podcast. So Mike, I'm gonna listen on the way up.
For sure, me too. Yeah. So. Well, Mike, anything in closing, any closing thoughts that you have for our listeners?
Making customer service and just like all that stuff the top priority, and just trying to treat everybody the best you can. And I know that's tough sometimes because you deal with people that might be a little difficult, and it's challenging sometimes because realtors, a lot of times they're a pretty tight knit community too. Like you upset one of them, and that word of mouth goes both ways. Where it's like,
that's true.
I'm not going to respond out of impulse. I'm not going to impulsively respond to this and be defensive. I'm going to calm down first. Just keeping those things in mind, I think, in business goes a long way.
Our guest, Michael Burke of Inside Real Estate Photography. Michael, if somebody wants to find you on YouTube, what's the best way?
Yeah, you can just search Inside Real Estate Photography. I should come right up. It's also, InsideRealEstatePhotography.com is the website. I got a bunch of things on there. There's, all my videos are on there, and also just resources that I've created. Like I've created some sky replacement like packs that I've shot myself. I have some editing practice packs on there. Like there's some stuff like resources on there. if you're learning and looking for some resources, there's some good stuff on there too. So yeah, you check that out.
Awesome. Mike, thanks so much for coming on the podcast today and sharing just all of your wisdom. And it's so encouraging. And thank you for being vulnerable and the words of wisdom.
Thank you guys so much for letting me come on here. I really appreciate it. I had a good time. And, I appreciate you guys too. I appreciate Spiro. By the way, I love Spiro. I'm not just saying that because I'm here. I use it day to day. By the way, the new metrics dashboard, fabulous. I'm stoked on it. Like super Thanks. Stoked on it. I was looking at it yesterday. I'm like, yes, like this is such a powerful tool. Yeah, to see everything that's going on with your business, it's fantastic. So, I love all the updates and everything you guys been doing. It's really been a great asset to my business since I've implemented it. Can I share one other quick thing?
Yeah, please.
The sales sort of aspect of it, just like, I had a client that I've worked with for like almost 10 years probably. And she's always just, she's gotten photos and occasionally a Matterport or something. Really, that's it. Maybe drone here or there. But like, she went on there and, she ordered like my full package. She's, just from having Spiro on there, I got a big sale, and people are like, they see what you can do on there. It's just, yeah, it's a great thing. She's like, I didn't even know you did all this and that thing. So it's like, great. She's like, nice. I'm going to try this out. And, it's great. So I think you mentioned that in a podcast where someone just threw everything into a bundle and like people were ordering it. Like,
yeah,
you can do it. So it's great. I'm loving it. So thank you guys for that.
Love to hear that.
All right. Well, again, our guest, Michael Burke, Inside Real Estate Photography. Michael, like Todd said, thank you for joining us. It's been awesome. Make sure you check out his YouTube channel and his website. Again, the information on the screen, and then we can put that in the show notes, the description as well. And we haven't done one of these types of shows in a long time, Todd, but it's our owner spotlight series. We love to highlight, successful and up and coming. Not that you're up and coming, Michael, you're well established, but owners, and just hear their stories of the work in this industry in real estate media. So we appreciate your time. Thanks again for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that's going to do it again for this week. Thanks so much for joining us, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on an audio podcast. We just want to remind you every week, this is an important thing. Make sure you take time, slow down, think about the things that you've been blessed with, be thankful for them, and take a breath. Have a great week. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for joining us for the Spiro Podcast, Managing Your Real Estate Photography and Videography Business. This is a production of Spiro and Wow Video Tours. You can find out more about Spiro's real estate media business management software at our website, spiro.media.